So, so lovely to have you here, Jem, on this episode.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia.
Yeah. Yes. So to start with is, could you just tell the ones that are listening who you are and yeah, how would you present yourself to the world?
Hmm. I do have a business card, a service card. There's many different things on it, but my aspiration is to be a human being living in beauty, goodness, and truth. You could say that I'm a former lawyer, a former Buddhist monk, and the current husband. But it's all like labels that are not expressing the complete picture. So in that sense, I'm happy not to have too many titles.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you have a very interesting background, quite bit out of the ordinary, so to say. Very different phases in your life. I mean, we all have, but I'm thinking that your life have been, it seems to have been very, I can't find the right words, but in a really certain way where you have really commit yourself to one certain path and going full in. That is my sense.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about what's your background to start with?
Yeah, so I grew up in Stockholm, Sweden, and eventually I made it to law school, and during university I started meditating, and I was kind of a closet meditator for many years. I made this painted this sign that I put on my door when I share apartment with friends, that like meditating, like not disturbed. But I didn't have any kind of a friends or people around me meditating. My mom was already into spiritual practices, and she kind of also had a stream of spiritual books coming my way. That was very helpful for a number of years. And so I think it also helped to come back to my inner kindness and joy of life that maybe through adolescence, I've lost a little bit, become a little bit more hardened to try to be able to make it in the world, if you want. And so it softened my heart again. And rather than earning money as a lawyer, I said, no, I want to help people. Like, how can I help people? So I ventured into family laws. I worked for about 4 years in Stockholm mostly before I realized, no, there's not, actually, people don't want me to really help them. I could feel and sense that what is underlying the situation is they don't want to get at. They just want to be right. They don't want to be happy. They don't want to be loving. They want to be right for most part, huh? Not always. I see. This is not what it doesn't bring me joy. It's not like what I'm good at. And so I realized that I needed to find a new path, a new way of expressing, of serving. And so for me, it's always been helpful to leave the place and the space I'm in, because I have a lot of loyalty. And then when I show up at a workplace or in a relationship, I'm very wholehearted. I'm there, and I practice to be there. And that's been with me since before I started meditating, and from family too was nourished. So I went traveling. First on vacation on my own, I realized, no, I have to quit my job. And so I quit my job and I went really traveling. And I didn't have a clear destination, but I ended up in India. And when I came to Dharamsala in northern India, I just walked around to see. I was like thirsty for some new spiritual practices. And there was this Buddhist meditation and Buddhist introductory course starting in the same afternoon. So I was like, okay, I'll join it. And those were amazing 5 days. It's like other young people meditating, because I felt I didn't have peers in Sweden. I didn't come in contact with peers, at least. There were like men in their 20s or even women in their 20s. So that was like a big feeling of empowerment. Oh, okay, it's okay to meditate. It's okay to have this aspiration in life. And from there on, it was also just clear that the Buddhist teaching, it just like struck home. It's like someone had understood. Like the confusion I felt, the frustration I felt, it's like someone is showing me a path through this. Not running away from it, but understanding life in a way that my actions could be more fruitful, more beneficial. And while that journey led me to Plum Village, is a meditation center in southwestern France that was created by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh in the 80s, early 80s. And I stayed there 5 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. After 7 months, I asked, like, please, can I be ordained as a novice monk? Yeah, because it felt like home. It felt like so many different parts of my aspiration were manifesting all around me in the community. So I stayed there for a long time.
And you became a monk there?
Yes, I became a Buddhist monk. So I've been a Buddhist monk for almost 18 years. And I left the community in 2020. Yeah.
Wow, what a journey. So I stopped you there because I know that's there's a continuous story here also, of course. But I just wonder, was it for you, I mean, it's very different to be a lawyer and then becoming a monk. Did fears come up, or did it feel very natural to take on this new path? What happened there in that transition for you?
Yeah. No, I think it's helpful to also remember that I wasn't a lawyer. I was working, I was practicing law, but I also, through law school and through my practice, I feel like I knew I hadn't found, like, it hadn't landed in. It's like, okay, this I feel at home with, this is what I feel inspired to do. So there was like this aspect of knowing that there's more to life than this. And so I think that's, and I realized also the insatisfaction of the material things. I've been able to decorate a new apartment just the way I wanted to. I could buy clothes and eat and go on vacation. I felt like, no, it's not satisfactory. Take a lot of time and energy to maintain this. And so I was ready to let go. And so when I was traveling in India for 4.5 months, just with my backpack, eating vegetarian food, not having a lot of entertainment, not being in any relationship. So it was like already a preparation. So when I came to Plum Village, it was like living in a setting where others lived in a way that I felt was really good for me, that I really thrived in. And so in a way, it didn't take more than a couple of months, I think, before my heart knew, like, I want to ordain, I want to live like this. But then in big transition, I also see is like, for it to be really embodied and grounded and have a firm foundation of like taking that leap, also somehow the mind has to join. So it's like the heart and mind have to do together. And so like my intuition and my logic have to like agree. So it was a process of like, maybe I should continue my practice outside in society, or maybe I should be a monk, and like seeing which direction will that lead me, because every big choice we make, it leads us in a direction. It opens up a new path and new possibilities, but also it does lead us in a certain directions where we spend our time and energy. And so I just felt like this was kind of getting more used to also living in nature, living more simply, sharing room with others. So being in a very communal setting that I wasn't used to as the only child from Sweden. You know, we have a lot of space, we have our own room, and so on.
Wow.
And the last hurdle of that was actually in sitting meditation one afternoon, and I was sitting in the outer row, and behind me was a couple of the elder monks in the community. And just during that sitting meditation, I just felt so much peace and love just radiating from them. And I feel like I have to receive this gift. Like they're welcoming new monks, and like I like it, but part of me felt I have to do it on my own. I have to go back and somehow like this individualistic thinking. So it was that of I can take refuge. I can return and rely on this support that is here, that's being offered. And so that was like, after that, there was like no turning back.
Wow. Wow. So beautiful. And this explanation or picture you gives with, the mind, and then I would say the heart, and like, it doesn't mean that the mind is bad, but it's have many rules or often many ways how it think it should be, why the heart just feels. And it sounds really that you really dare to follow that strongly when you pulled out from your job in the society and just openness. But then it's the next step when we step into the new, we maybe are very enthusiastic, but then the mind kicks in, again, and start to question, because it's a situation that we haven't been in before. So it feels unfamiliar, as you explain here, like the difference of the only child and individualistic society and being in that and going into kind of the opposite. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And for me, it's also actually those kind of those ideas. Well, are they serious enough here? Do they practice seriously enough, or is it like living as a cultural minority? And there was a lot of Vietnamese culture and language, even if there's monks from all over the place, but like no other Scandinavian, so it's like clear minority like that. But actually, it helped me to go through those questionings too, to realize I have this idea of what it means to practice well, and I'm grasping onto this idea that to be a good practitioner, this and that. So to be too joyful, to be too light, that's not the serious practice, but actually that's what I needed to learn. So sometimes if we're willing to see those voices in the mind or those questionings, it tells us something about our beliefs, our views. So it's not just like chatter, but actually it has roots deep inside us that's also connected with the heart. So when I feel the strongest was when the heart mind is together. I don't like discharge my intellectual capacity, and that is the heart that kind of sets the way. And then also within me, I can work as a community, an organism that's not separate. That's like this part is good, this part is bad. No, but it's an amazing living being that comes to life.
Yeah, beautiful, because the mind really, it gives us an invitation to, it really guides us to what we have to look at more. So it's perfect that it's doing its own stuff, and then it's more, okay, what do we do with it? Can we like come into our heart and like listen to that, what's really true here?
And on a bigger picture too, it's like what is true here is what is true everywhere in a way. Of course, as a personal and present moment aspect to it, but also is a very universal aspect of it. Is this contributing to my well-being? Am I contributing to the well-being of others? That's such an important aspect of just how life is. It's a benevolent, loving cosmos, and it's like we're our journey eventually is to wake up and be free, to be loving and be like aligned, like you were asking me in advance to this, to like what. So this is all our purposes, and our journeys are a little bit different, and we're learning different things, and there's also individualistic aspects to the path, but there's also this universal thing that for me has been very helpful to keep in contact with. Like the Buddha was so surprised after waking up. It's like, wow, because he was tempted and questioned by his inner demons. It's like, no, but who are you to wake up? How can you attain full liberation? Who will be your witness and trust you? And he put his hand on Mother Earth and say, like, the earth will be witness. And so at the awakening, the earth trembles to kind of like witness, okay, I know I'm here, I'm acknowledging this. So it's also after that, it's like the Buddha was surprised, like I mentioned, that we don't realize we have the capacity to wake up. And so in Buddhism, we talk about Buddha, it means to awaken. And awakening understanding is not separate from love, and it's not separate from freedom. So in that sense, it's like to find ways to come back to that capacity, that potential, and have confidence in that we're taking steps, or at times we're like tasting it. For me, that has given a lot of courage to take big steps in my life, to know like, okay, but I'm not a poor beggar, but like I have infinite capacity and potential within me. We all do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I go back to that when I feel fear, and when my mind tries to create a lot of stories and go into the labyrinths of whatever that it's not really serving. I have, especially I think the recent year, or I come more into that this bigger trust that, I mean, we come here and we are limitless. I mean, it sounds so we have heard these things, but then for me it's just dropped deeper and deeper, like the real understanding of that. It's so hard for the mind to grasp, and I can't say I still wholly grasp it, but I started to kind of, I can see that I open up for that more and more, and when I do, more and more magic comes into my life. And even in the challenging things, it's like, but then that is like in the challenging things, I can really, it's an invitation for me to surrender even more. So thank you for sharing that.
No, for sure. Like I relate to that too in some of the more challenging times when there's like, it's impossible to hold on. Like it hurts too much, or it's too takes too much energy to grasp on or hold on, and the letting go happens. It's like, wow, there's new beauty, new wonders opening up for sure.
Beautiful. And that takes us maybe quite natural to your next phase in your life, because you was a monk for 18 years. That's a long time. I mean, it's a big part of the life, and I guess it was your whole reality to be there and like immerse in that teaching and everything. And then what happened? What made you come out from that life?
And I mentioned already before deciding to ordain, I was like back and forth a little bit which path to take. But once I decided, I feel like, oh wow, I really want to do this. But still doubts came up now and then, especially in the beginning, because my roots were not deep in the community yet, or my habit of like living a quite different life was not settled in, but more and more I found my way of expressing myself. I moved also to the Deer Park Monastery, which is a smaller community, so it's more personal. I felt like I could really relate to all the brothers and sisters in person. So there were more people coming up from the local communities of Southern California, including San Diego and Los Angeles. I get also like lay friends, close, good lay friends over a period of time. And I was a teacher. I was traveling first with my teacher in large community across the world, and leading retreats also on my own with brothers and sisters throughout North America and some in Sweden and so on. And so I really felt like, wow, it's like so wholehearted. It's just this natural way of myself to express myself and to put it into practice and also keep offering what I've learned myself and the teaching and practice and how I've come to apply and practice it myself. And so in so many ways, I just love being a Buddhist monk and living the way I lived. And a lot of close connections with brothers and sisters, a deep connection with my teacher and the tradition. And also obviously living with others and being this, not just a practice place where you come to do your own spiritual practice, but as a community, like this is huge international organization happening. And so as a Dharma teacher and as the acting abbot over many years, I was engaged in so many different areas and responsibilities in different ways and mentor and so on. And so obviously everything is not easy and smooth and fun all the time, like in any situation we find ourselves in. But then I was also like put in a different time and space because of a cancer diagnosis. In August 2018, I was diagnosed with melanoma cancer, and it showed that it spread through 11 different parts of my body, and the backbones and the liver, and 11 tumors or something. And so it was kind of a radical shift. So I just said, like, okay, I cannot take care of anything. I just have to focus on possibly getting well. And so I went into treatment, and I was really I've never been so sick and so weak in my whole life, like the period, the fall of 2018, spring 2019. And it was also a time where like functions of the body kind of difficult to come to the toilet in time, or just after 10 steps, I was like exhausted. My breath was like, I couldn't get enough air, and I couldn't lay down, and I didn't get enough air. So I kind of half sat at night, and I started having a sense of worry in my body. I'm not sure if I'm going to wake up. It's like the body's so weak. And so during that period too, like I asked myself, it's like, well, if this is it, if I don't get better, if I'm passing on, it's like, am I okay with that? Am I able to let go into that continuation if that's what the conditions are like, phasing? And it just felt so much light and so much clarity during that time. So like, I'm not afraid of dying or continuing even, and what that journey looks like. But more, it's like, no, I'm not ready here. It's like this, I have things I want to do, and I have confidence that this also can heal. And some brothers and sisters that were close to me during these months, they said like, wow, it's a miracle you're still alive, when I started kind of coming out of it, And so, but within that period of being sick, I realized that also there was still like layers of feeling ashamed of having been vulnerable and weak during childhood and adolescence, not really understanding or being put down by others that are more like forward, or like just somehow I got this internalized idea that to be strong somehow is like strong like this, you're capable, and even you push others down is okay somehow, that make you strong. And I'm weak because I ran home crying. I felt like a victim for for bullies at certain points, not over long periods, but here and there. And I realized, like, well, whose story is that? Whose view is that? What's strong and what's weak? So a lot of healing came from that. For me, actually, like from the core of my being, for me to be strong is to be kind, to be generous, to be loving, you know. And so that was one layer of suffering that I came in contact with and had some transformation. But I felt like that was one thing in this life. Okay, so I'm being born again, it felt like. So what is it that I need to take care of? What can I not forget in this incarnation, this lifetime? And that was one aspect. And I did have had for a while kind of a desire to engage more in Swedish also, and to work with smaller groups and put my own flavor on the teaching and practice in the whole of a retreat or a course or something, and not within the community container. But then also in me was clear that, and there's a deep, like, pure longing for a spiritual loving companion in a romantic relationship. Because I felt also for myself, at least, like living in community and brothers and sisters, we come and go, and some stay, you know, and you have a longer, deeper relationship. But when you live and you have a daily practice and you offer retreats and you travel, you have this organization as well. There was something in me not feeling safe enough to just show my whole self, like to be as intimate and open as I would like. So that's what I was longing for in a relationship, not just to have someone, you know, but for it to be a spiritual partnership where you mirror and support each other, and the alchemy of that can take me to the next level, if you will. So those were some other things that I felt like, well, I actually have to choose to stay a monk. I cannot just continue to be a monk because I like it and I've done it for a long time and I just love and cherish it. But I have to choose it again, and I couldn't. And also that was actually a transition in spring of 2020. I came home to Sweden to lead a couple of retreats, but obviously, like, they didn't happen in person, so I did them online from my mom's living room in Stockholm. So she's been a huge support, like all the way into monastic life, or going through law school, monastic life, and then out on the other side, and through my sickness, she was also there with me, and so loving and huge support. And so I came home, and then since there wasn't anything going on in the community and I couldn't really travel, so I stayed in Sweden. I said, like, okay, I take a sabbatical because I've been wanting to spend time in Sweden and reflect, because after I started gaining some energy again, I was kind of pulled into my normal role, or the community's habits, or my own habits of living at Deer Park. And so when I came to Sweden, okay, that had, like, similar to as when I went to India, this is just like, really, I'm not subject to the projections or habits of others around me. I just have to listen in. What am I called to do now? I just wrote an article recently in our newsletter for the Plum Village tradition, the Mindfulness Bell, as calling answering the call of my heart. And so staying home in Sweden was doing just that, and deciding through the summer to disrobe. So I did a ceremony on my own, since I couldn't travel back, to leave my monk precepts and robe behind in the new moon of August 2020. I kind of felt like that it's important to get the closure to. It's not just entry and all of a sudden you're exiting, but it's this whole journey that is part of that.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm all mesmerized by your story here. I just want to go a little bit back, because I'm thinking of, so many people go through hardship, and just to get this diagnosis of cancer that you got, what are like so much emotions that comes up. And when you told me this, I just saw, like, when you said that you had seen being weak as a certain way, and then kind of life showed you kind of got so weak in the physical, and even, as you said, a lot of vulnerability came with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like it I wouldn't say a test, but it really gave you, it sounds like it really gave you to practice what being is is. So could you really feel that? And that's kind of what I hear, but maybe you can just confirm. But what I'm hearing, that you could see that, wow, I can be so strong, even if it looks like I'm so weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, I've gained so much both capacity to offer retreats or to support people through my years of being a monk, and gaining energy and so on. And so, in a way, like, it was helpful also to, I don't want to say good, all the different challenges in my life. When I look back, like in retrospect, they helped me to learn and help me to grow in new way if I'm ready to take it on. Even like being pushed down and treated badly at times, I see also, like, when I say it's karma, like paying back that I've treated others badly, but it has taught me a deeper humility and a deeper sense of empathy for those who are in difficult situations. And I think without those difficult moments in earlier life, I would have been happy, or like maybe been able to fit into working as a lawyer and being happy and healthy enough with the material world view, So sometimes the hardship can be our blessing too, that open a new door. So, the Buddha teaches that suffering is noble. Like, if we acknowledge that there is suffering in us, we see there's reasons and causes for it, but there's also a way out. So anything I do, like as a monk and now, is like, it's the path of transformation and healing. Is the path of acknowledging suffering and transforming suffering and growing well-being.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I mean, every person's journey is different here. I'm thinking when you get diagnosed with a sickness, or but I mean, it sounds like a little bit like a miracle, as also your friend said, that I mean, as you explained, you had cancer in so many places within your body. So what would you think, according to your journey, and you probably touched on that already now, but just to make it even more clear, what do you think that actually helped your body to heal this?
Yeah. And there's many different components, just as there's many different components on how you get sick and how it kind of becomes so dire. But I was also fortunate to have an amazing doctor at the hospital. So I received kind of hospital care through immunotherapy. It hasn't been used so long, and also, like, it's not available for all different types of cancer yet. But in a way, it is a little bit smarter kind of medication, where it actually boosts the immune system in different ways to help the immune system take care of cancer tumors and cancer cells. And so I did, before I said yes to the treatment, I had the long list of side effects, there was a level of trust in those 2 meetings with the doctor and his assistant. I felt like they really cared. You know, he was also teaching at the university hospital and had done clinical experiments, and like so happy to show that actually the way we're combining these different treatments is getting a much bigger result. So much more people have some benefit. It doesn't mean that everyone gets completely well, and so it was this trust, like, okay, I can take refuge in this. I can wholeheartedly and 100% receive this treatment, because I had like a kind of a bias, like, well, it's toxic in a way and it has a lot of side effects. But I just also dove into that and accepting that. But I also accepted acupuncture and herbal Chinese herbal medicine over periods of times, and I also had radiation treatment where it was really severe and affecting other parts of the body functions. I met a couple of amazing healers in the process too, and alternative doctors. I think that's where, like, again, filling into what is true for me when it comes to healing and my spiritual practice. There's just certain meditation just came to me that I practiced a lot, like visualizing crystals and diamonds and stars, that I just kind of invited into the tumors as a daily practice of, like, if something so pure and something so radiant is like, that quality is actually embodied in these places. A parasitic organism like a cancer tumor cannot thrive and live in that kind of environment. So on many different layers, and also that of seeing that I am vulnerable, I need help. Like, I can't go to the dining hall to eat. I need someone to bring me food or drive me to the dining hall. Like, I need help to do all kinds of things. Do my laundry or clean my room or like all these things. So it was a big surrender in many ways, like that. And also that of taking step by step. I think two huge things. Actually, I'm writing a book about this in Swedish. Hopefully it can come in English. So if anyone listen to this, some Swedish publisher that might be interested, let me know. No, but like, don't identify with the cancer. Don't identify with being a cancer patient even. Like, okay, there's cancer in me, but I'm not cancer, right? So that's a huge difference. And it's easy to be pulled into, like, when's the next treatment? What's the next scan result? But like celebrating life. So after I finished the radiation treatments, and I was nauseous and I was weak, and like, after every of those treatments, I took off all my clothes, hang them outside the room, and took a shower and changed clothes right away. That's like, felt so good. But then I told my brother that drove me to the hospital, and my mom that was there, like, okay, let's stop. You go buy ice cream, I'll pay, and we'll have an ice cream out in the park together. We have to celebrate, because these 5 days in a row of going and getting treatment is like exhausting in a way, but like also trusting that has been beneficial and going into it also with a positive attitude, it helped a lot. If we think that, I'm receiving this poison, this is not good for me, but I have to, it's like, of course, it's not going to be helpful in the long run. So that of saying yes and also celebrating what I can celebrate right now. And so that's not something that just I came up with during the cancer treatment. That's something I lived through my monastic years too. How can I celebrate? There's the plum blossoms. We make a festival out of it. The full moon, let's make a festival out of it. We'll sit, drink tea and sing songs under the full moon. So these things this kind of a culture has become part of me because of my monastic living. And so those are really important things. So kind of going through the sickness and creating conditions, contributing to the conditions also to heal.
Wow, so beautiful, because this what you explain here, because it's very extreme to get this diagnosis, you could actually die.
Yeah.
It just, I think it symbolized so much whatever we do in life that feels, also scary. And oh, there's so many golden nuggets here, but at least if I would sum up also what I hear is like you went into this with kind of full acceptance that this is now coming to me, and let's make the best out of it. That's what I hear you saying. And that you really, I mean, you also could see that if you would die, you didn't let fear get in the way, but you also took a decision that, no, I really want to be here and I have a lot to do. But it felt like you weren't strongly attached to any of the outcome, even if you maybe wanted something. Am I right? Or how?
No, you're correct a minute. Actually, it would have felt lighter and easier to let go and continue and not stay in this body in a way. You know, it's kind of feels limiting many times, but also an amazing ground to grow and to contribute to something collectively, to a collective awakening, a new earth or whatever you want to call it. And also like this of like coming to Plum Village and meeting my teacher. We call him Thai, which means teacher, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, Thai. And it's also like a homecoming, and like he's been my teacher before. It's not like, so it felt like previous vow that I've taken. It's also to like, so when I've been able to return and practice with him and contribute to his life's work, it's also been so satisfactory. And actually, I could also, it seemed like in my journey out of monastic life and finding my current wife, is also this of a reconnection rather than like meeting someone, you know, but like familiarity in so many ways, like, oh, so wonderful to see you again, that kind of experience.
Yes. Yeah, it's so beautiful, because that's also what I can really, when I met my partner, it felt like that. Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay. You showed up now. Yeah, it makes sense. Oh, yeah, so beautiful, because I mean, that's also, yeah, such a difference from being monk and then going into relationship. But it also felt that you somehow had started to prepare for that in some way. Am I right then, that you started to, that had dropped into your awareness?
Yeah, no, I felt that that aspiration, if you will, already when I was still a monk back in Deer Park during my period of being sick. But then there's also like, in this life, we cannot maybe do everything that we find will be beautiful, right? So to do something wholeheartedly and really like follow something, we also have to let go of other beautiful things, right? We cannot, I try to follow every teacher or every spiritual tradition, like it's like I miss the whole thing. I don't really drink. I don't really get to the well of anything.
Yeah.
And so in life too, maybe, and that's one reason why I realized living as a lawyer in Stockholm, like people I saw around me that were more successful or been a part of that kind of life for longer. They have so many different things, so many different commitments, but they couldn't, in my sense, they couldn't really enjoy it. They didn't have time or energy to really enjoy it and savor it. It was always taken care of, or the next thing, and always wanting more. And so sometimes in life, if that is our grasping mind of never having enough, that will never lead to fulfillment and satisfaction. You always have to let go of things to really like, for something beautiful to really appear for us. And but it felt like it's I want to learn, I want to live in a different way. That was kind of starting to be clear, and I admitted it to myself in a way in summer of 2020. And I also went to some alternative therapists that I had confidence in to guide me through just like having someone outside kind of guide me and listen and help me kind of reflect on and let sink in deeper in my experience of being that sick, and also some trauma that had came up that I wanted to take care of from earlier in life, and also this longing of leaving monastic life and going into a romantic relationship. It was so helpful to get an outsider that didn't know me personally to just in a loving and very clear way, like listen and mirror back and to ask questions and kind of help me find my own truth and stand up for that. Because there's a strong seed of loyalty in me. So like leaving monastic life, it wasn't easy because I love it so much, and I feel also like a loyalty to my teacher, to the brothers and sisters, and the community is like this huge web across the planet of practitioners. But I feel like I left in a way that is I could see that I'm actually not abandoning this loyalty or my teacher, but actually I'm just doing it, offering things in a different way. Like I'm maybe reaching people that the monks and nuns aren't reaching, or like bringing it to a new sphere. And so in that sense, I feel more of when I could embody the feeling of I'm also a continuation even in this expression, then that sense of like, okay, I could let go. It's like, this is really what I want to do. And it was, yes, a couple of months later, I had the first kind of contact with Emma, and actually we had some divine intervention too, to actually start talking to each other, and met quite shortly after that. And yeah, I was pretty sure right away that, okay, this is the woman for me in this life.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Wow. So as I know you both, I know that you both are so making so much beauty in what you are doing and serving to the world, and now you come together. and it's like with my partner also, that it's such a support when you have someone walking at the same path as you. I mean, you might have different way to do it because you have your own unique way to do it, and that's what you should do. But you have someone that really can understand and that can really support you, and that you can support. And it's just this growth in both of you, just being in each other's awareness, even if that can be challenging as well, and even that is a growth. So can you tell a little bit about that now, when you have come into this beautiful unity, this marriage also with Emma, and what that have now opened up for you?
Yeah. Is this a synergy that is being available partly because we're on the same wavelength in so many things? Just the other day was Emma's birthday, and we had lunch in an Indian restaurant. We both order vegan food, and we say, yeah, we can share a alcoholic-free beer to make it festive, something to cheer in. So like just, okay, and no one is making a compromise to do that. No one would like to go to the steakhouse, or no one would like this. And so many things that is were aligned already before we met, and that just through this loving connection been interwoven much more. And I think also the last couple of years has been obviously I'm finding a new way to share my message, or my teachings about meditation and qigong and mindfulness in daily life and during retreats and courses and so on. but also felt it very important and inspiring to offer things together with Emma. And so is both for personal growth and support, amazing, and but also for in our service that we feel actually like when we do things, we led a retreat this Easter, for example, where I led meditations after offer some Buddhist teachings, and we did walking meditation in silence outside and mindful meals and so on. And then we had aspects of alternative therapy, and Emma led. I won't go into details of that, but it is such a beautiful synergetic process, alchemic union that actually I think it's providing something both that's obviously from our own hearts and from our love. It springs from that kind of a union too, but also it's very helpful from my own experience and what I see. Some people can meditate for a long time and they don't, like, there's still a lot of areas that are like shut with behind a door and key. It's like that's out of awareness. And then there's also others that dwell into therapy and they want to go through the next, unraveling experience and cathartic release, but they don't have a stability in their daily life and self-reflection and holding themselves and so on. So I feel like it's the thing we do together is a kind of a mutually supportive. And so that's also inspiring. I see my own path and my own way of service in a new light because of Emma, and we're discovering new things together.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. What would you say that are that you feel, I mean, that's I guess it's, shift and takes different forms, but if we're talking about right now, what is your message that you feel called to share with the world? I mean, you have shared so much just during this call, but if you would sum it up, what would that be? What is the importance that you would like to really, or that you are giving?
Yeah. There's finding ways to stop our doing, stop our thinking, so we can dwell in a little bit deeper into the present moment, into ourselves, our own volition, what we find is beautiful and good and true for us, so we can live more in alignment with that. If we're living according to some collective view or emotion, if we're living to others' expectations, we will never be happy and feel strong and satisfied. But if we come from this inner intention and live from that, doesn't mean everything is perfect around us, but we can sense a sense of gratitude for life and a sense of wonder in life as it is, in a much clearer way. So to offer ourselves that stopping and coming back, sensing, feeling into, discovering what is important for me, and then acting on it. It doesn't have to be in huge ways or huge shifts, but in some way. And take care of the things, take responsibility for our own actions. What are the voices in our head? What are the projections of others? Also being in a loving relationship. Just like this last week, there was some small thing and I was like feeling like she shouldn't leave that there at this time. And it's like, I even said something about one of those things and I really felt afterwards like, what am I doing? It's so petty, I took a walk and I realized, no, it's about setting boundary for something completely different. It has nothing to do with Emma, but just like this fiery energy of like no, it's like enough. I'm not taking this. It's like that was becoming alive in me for something completely different. But then, the situation triggers. I take responsibility for myself, and I said later, like, I'm sorry that I was so, I commented on this because it's like nothing, And so in that way of seeing what's the real cause and taking responsibility, also saying sorry. maybe the last thing, just like see the beauty in yourself, in the people around you, in the world. Like it's spring, so it's kind of easier than other times of the year maybe, but like to relish that and to allow that joy and that like the wonderment open you up for new possibilities in life. And so that's my own practice, and that's what I find is helpful, so I can also offer that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's coming back to the most challenging moment you had there, that you could, what I heard, that you could even see the beauty. When you had cancer, you was like, all this crystal, when you were talking about the crystal, it's like, wow, that, I mean, that you could really see that beauty, and it felt that you really could take in that beauty within you, even if your body was, you know, so weak, and it was so, you know, such a challenging moment for you. So as you say, it's easy maybe to see the beauty in the spring and, you know, and everything, but to see it, what I hear that you're saying, it's like to see it all the time.
Well, I don't do it all the time, but you know, when I do, it's just so much more satisfying to be here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean to kind of turn my way around from suffering, but like feeling for me, so when an ambulance or police car comes by and the siren, there's kind of a tendency, at least collectively, to think like, is something wrong or something? We want to step out of the way, of course, but like these things that might trigger a sense of like urgency or worry in us. So like through the years, I turned, and the other day we had like a military helicopters coming over here. Like it's not so common in Sweden. So I was like may all be well. Like whoever is needing an ambulance right now, may they be healthy and safe. And like may everyone be safe, and like may the police take care of things in a way that helps to restore some peace and respect in community, you know. Or with airplanes, like, wow, maybe we find true peace. So like you can make these, that could be a trigger into also a call to prayer, if you will. Yeah. So it's also this journey of transformation. It's not turning our back on suffering and the unpleasant trees of life, but how can I use them?
Beautiful, beautiful words to end with. I think could listen at you for a long time, and I guess there is a lot of opportunity to listen to you more. I mean, very exciting with your book, and if people would be called to you and would like to find you, where could they find out what you're doing, where you are?
Yeah. And so actually my biggest engagement right now, there's is also we're about to find a new home, and this summer will be a lot about that transition. But I have a website, and it's mostly in Swedish. There's also an English page. So hjartatsgladje.se, maybe you can have it in, you know, as a link somewhere. And there I offer some both retreats, courses, but I also have a YouTube channel where I offer 3 teachings, and there's a blog that I write. There's just yesterday I put out a little YouTube video that I call Meditation in Nature. That's in English. I started I love cooking too, as a creative way of expressing, and like cooking and eating healthy enough and delicious enough. So I call that loving foods. So sometimes there's a video or a little blog post about that too. So I kind of like to have different expressions. I also do take individual sessions both in English and Swedish. So you can read that more on the website.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to see what's coming more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful to have this opportunity to to share with you, Patricia, as well. I listened to a couple of the podcasts. I find you have both such a enthusiastic and a bright aspect that is like really like on, but also such a capacity to listen and feel in. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to learn more with you and get to know you better.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, thank you so much for sharing so much of your, your knowledge, your wisdom, your background, and all the teachings that have come to you through life and that you have received and that you are so willing to share with the world. So
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can really feel that. And I'm glad that you stayed on this planet Earth a bit longer. I hope much longer though. Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah.